Welcome to the Money Pig Podcast, presented by Goodwin Investment Advisory, where our mission is to lead you to financial pig, peace, independence, and generosity. I'm your host, Tim Goodwin. Welcome back to the Money Pig Podcast.
Here we are.
Joe, super excited to have you back once again for this episode on lessons learned from people 20 years ahead of you. So 20 years ahead of you, Joe.
And me. Yeah.
We're talking about ancient people.
We're talking
Gosh,
Methuselah people.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the audience, if they're watching this episode, they can see how young and handsome you really are.
Yeah.
You really are.
Really.
That's right. Spry. I love it. Awesome. Excited to have you here today, Joe. Let's see. Before we get started, maybe share something with the audience that they don't know about you, something interesting.
Something interesting about God, I hate when you put me on the spot because I keep doing that, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting all my truths and a lie. I'm giving away. Right?
You can start over. You've been on here quite a bit, so you don't have to have new content.
Something super interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the super fun thing, like one of my brushes with greatness that I wish I'd taken more advantage of.
Greatness.
I got to meet Neil Armstrong one time.
Whoa! Come on, unpack that for us a little bit.
Excited about that. I was working.
Did you challenge him to an arm wrestle? That's not my dad joke, though. I still have one.
It wasn't Stretch Armstrong. It was Neil Armstrong.
Yeah, how strong was his arm, really? Sorry, this is your story, not mine. Back to you.
I was in Houston, Texas, and I worked for Delta at the time. And he walked up to me to cancel his flight.
Oh, yes, that's right. I've heard this story.
I took care of him, and he walked away before I was like, wait, was that really him?
Oh, my gosh.
And he was gone by the time I looked up his info and saw, that was really him. So I didn't get to ask questions. I wanted to be like, I have so many questions. But he was gone. He was a busy guy,
Well, you don't have to say all the questions, but what's the question you'd ask Neil Armstrong if you met him now?
What was the first thing that popped into your head when you put your foot down on the moon?
Wow. One step for man.
Well, we know what he said. But, it just makes me wonder. Like, he had a view that nobody's ever had before. So, what was the first thing that hit you?
That's cool. That's a good question.
I'm curious.
I feel like I'm getting that quote wrong, though. What was it? Leap for mankind. One step for man, one leap for mankind. Was that it?
It's one step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. So cool. Well, speaking of otherworldly, Joe,
you're reaching, bro.
If Santa and Mrs. Claus had a baby, what would he be?
Buddy Claus.
Betty Claus?
Buddy.
Yes, Buddy the elf.
Buddy Claus.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad. No.
Sorry.
Oh, gosh.
Thanks, Mr. Narwhal.
I have to start this. Bye, Mr. Narwhal. If Santa and Mrs. Claus had a baby, what would he be? A subordinate clause. I feel like I should have done. I
feel like I want to invoke the escape clause right now.
hit the eject button, get me out of here. That would have been a great one when Sarah White, the estate attorney that we love so much, was here. A subordinate clause.
Yeah. Right. You can subject her to that.
Come on, I'll do that next week. I want to make sure that she gets that dad joke in for the season. Well, welcome back to the Money Pig Podcast, everybody. Let's get back to the topic: lessons learned from people 20 years ahead of you. Joe, we'll start off with you today. You are the only guest here. Joe,
you stuck with me.
So we think about being a financial advisor. You've been a financial advisor for, almost 15 years now. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Do you get does your employer give you a special gold watch or anything like that? Or?
I got a certificate to the Jelly of the Month Club.
Oh, did you? I'm wearing the t-shirt right here.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Joe, that is the gift that keeps on giving.
So I'm told. I'm told.
Yeah, sorry, we can't help the Christmas cheer. I even have a Merry Christmas case on my phone. So for those of you watching, you get to see my Merry Christmas case. So, and my shirt. So, all right. So you've been a financial advisor for 15 years. You've sat across the table from hundreds and hundreds. You might be getting close to 1,000 families, or at least meetings. So what's a lesson that you consistently hear from people that are maybe at the next stage of life? Maybe it's not quite 20 years, but the next stage of life ahead of you. What are you kind of hearing from them that you wish you knew earlier? Sorry, that's the last part of the question. What's something you're like, oh man, yeah, wish I knew that earlier.
That I wish more people knew earlier, right?
Go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I consistently hear You hear stuff all the time, but this is going to be the theme. It's don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
And I take that and I translate it to focus on what is important to you. And I know we've had conversations before around like what's wealth versus wealthy and keeping up with the Joneses and stuff like that. And I consistently hear that from them, that kind of stuff doesn't matter. That the most important stuff that matters typically is family and pursuing what makes you happy. Just do that.
You know, what you got me thinking about was the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And we've talked before on this podcast about how we have a financial advisor's version of that called the Good Life Pyramid.
Yep.
And when you talk about don't sweat the small stuff, it's kind of like the stuff at the bottom of the pyramid. And for the financial advisor version, the Good Life Pyramid that we have, it's things like debt management, cash flow, building wealth, taxes, that kind of thing. And so what's interesting is I think when folks are ahead of us, they've kind of figured that stuff out, or they haven't, right? But if they figured it out, they realize that there's a lot more meaningful stuff in life, even when it comes to finance, than getting out of debt and assessing risk and building my wealth and paying less in taxes. That's super important.
100%
but if you
important.
can get a better understanding of what's going on and you can get a good plan and put good systems in place for all that stuff, it allows you to kind of move up the hierarchy, right? To move up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, to move up the Good Life Pyramid into things that are a lot more meaningful. They're not sweating the small stuff anymore. They're talking about purpose and legacy and travel and spending times with loved ones and feeling organized and in control. And they realize that this not only feels good, it's just more important. It's like more substantial.
Right.
You know?
That's what makes you feel fulfilled at the end of the day, right? That's what gives you that inner peace, that inner joy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The peace part is really where it's at, because you know, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer because the rich figure out habits to build that wealth, right? You either figure it out or you don't. And you start building that wealth, and then freaking compound interest takes, effect over decades.
The eighth wonder of the world takes over for you.
Yeah, Albert Einstein, exactly. And so, and it just gets wider and wider as it goes. But I think I feel bad for these folks that are like, they can't figure out the financial piece, because the small stuff that maybe these folks that are older say don't sweat the small stuff, but they haven't been able to figure it out. And so they are sweating the small stuff. But I think it's an interesting concept to go, if you're sweating all this stuff, folks that are older and are ahead of you and where you want to be are basically telling you, get that stuff figured out as quick as possible, because it's like stealing your joy and it's stealing your peace.
Exactly.
So if you're worried about, and it will forever until you figure it out.
Yep.
And if you don't figure it out, you don't get to move up the pyramid. You really don't. It's hard to think about, well, what's the kind of legacy you want to leave when you have $120,000 in credit card debt, right? So, what's the legacy you want to leave when you have no assets, let alone enough to cover your own expenses? The goal is that you have excess wealth that you can pass on, right? So, very cool. So, as we're talking about peace, when you look at the retirees who are truly at peace, right? Not just financially, but kind of like emotionally, what common choices or habits do you think got them there?
What I see a lot of the time is that they have made smart choices. They've been, and I think the overriding theme that I see is they've been intentional.
Okay.
And they've been intentional about several things. One, living below their means, so they avoid debt as much as possible. Now, how many people walk around with $500,000 in their pocket to go buy a house, right? So you get a mortgage.
Right.
So there are debts, but they work to get them paid off as quickly as possible. They try not to be a debtor to anybody. And there's all kinds of proverbs around that stuff, right? So they kind of live that. Another common choice that I see is, I guess it's in that same thing. They live below their means, but they constantly kind of reset and reassess what is making them happy. And they choose that rather than choosing flash.
Well, and you're talking about intentionality. Like it seems like they've, obviously with age this helps, but they have the time, they've spent the time to really figure out what does make them happy, right? And they're very intentional about it. Yeah. Yeah.
And that includes in their career. You know, how many times do we talk to people who are stuck in a career that they hate?
Yeah. And why? Why are they stuck in that career they hate?
Why are they stuck?
Yeah.
Right. And there are a lot of reasons that people come up with.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it might be helpful for the audience for us to unpack some of those reasons. I mean, I feel like the one that I hear a lot is like the health insurance plan. You know,
For sure.
Yeah. Like whether they want to be an entrepreneur, go out on their own, consultant 1099, or go somewhere else. They're just like, what do I do in between? I don't have healthcare. And I think that's a conversation. There are options.
For sure.
So if you can, you can probably ask your ChatGPT, but ask your financial advisor if you have one, what the options are, but they're there. But yeah, we certainly don't love, it's like a trigger for us when we hear somebody say they don't love their job and for whatever reason, we can't convince them to retire yet. Maybe we can, and because we can show them those options, but we're like, hey man, life's too short. You need to get in a job that you actually enjoy and love, even if it maybe doesn't necessarily pay you the most money. I wanted to come back to an answer that you said, which was smart. They're making smart choices. Right? How do we help our clients make smart choices?
Well, I like to think that we bring things to their attention that maybe they haven't even thought of before. Yeah. Sometimes, for instance, just it could be early on in your career, like, hey, did you think about saving Roth instead of pre-tax? I know pre-tax feels good right now because you pay a little bit less in tax, but in the end,
play now, pay later.
Just that might make a huge difference, so it's just common little tweaks and then be intentional about them. Like, hey, I know you're saving 10% in your 401k right now. If you made it 15, would you even notice that much? Could you do that? And that might make a huge difference.
I totally agree. Is like getting them to think of maybe scenarios or options that they weren't thinking of, or maybe they didn't know they had, and we talked before about like at the purest essence of what we do, what like at the base level, at the minimum level, what are we doing for our clients? And we are reducing or removing financial anxiety, right? And it's that, where does that anxiety come from? Is that from that uncertainty of, I don't know if I'm doing it right with my money. Am I doing it right? Am I putting enough away? Am I putting it in the right place? Am I investing it in the right things? Right. And so we can walk clients through all the options and run all the scenarios to help them make a smart or smarter decision. They feel like it's smart, or you might feel like it's smart because they've considered all the options. We've helped those clients to think of every option. We may not recommend all the options. Probably don't.
Sure.
And often we probably have a pretty good idea of what they should choose, but we do try hard to be a guide and let the client be the hero to decide for themselves. We want to empower them with the knowledge and the confidence to make the right decision for them. Right? Nobody can advocate for you more than yourself. And that's how we feel for clients. And so we're there to be wise counsel and experienced counsel. So that's great. What is one regret that you hear most often from people in their 60s or 70s that younger listeners could actually adjust for today?
So it might sound weird, but it's they worked too long.
Come on.
They didn't retire soon enough.
Yeah.
Because so normally we traditionally think of like, oh, age 65, I'm going to retire. Well, Social Security full retirement age is now 67. And who knows, that's probably going to get pushed up in the future and things like that. But your health is not always going to last you. And none of us are promised tomorrow. And so what I see in that age group of people is like, hey, I got to 60 and I was ready to retire and I was going to go do all these things and my health didn't cooperate. So I missed doing X, Y, Z. I didn't do those things. And I worked a long, long time and I could have done something different. So when I translate that into this question, what could you do as a young person? Well, you can get your financial house in order. You can start saving toward retirement. You can start living below your means. You can make smart choices now so that you build the wealth that you can afford to retire earlier than 60, 70. You don't have to wait. You can go do the things. So I would just say, get on an intentionality around your finances as early as possible.
Well, and really just that simple takeaway, that quick kind of win of move that retirement date up.
Move it up.
I love to ask people this question. You've heard me ask it before. If you heard that somebody died with $1 million, what do you think? Right? So a lot of the folks I ask start with, I think I wish I was related to them. Right? but the reality is, do you think that maybe they retired 5 years too late or whatever it is, but that they could have retired sooner? We really try to guide our clients to, hey, go ahead and give the money away while you're alive. Go ahead and spend the money away while you're alive. If you're going to give it to the nonprofit or pass it down to the family, do it now.
Be intentional about it. And do it when they need it.
Right. But man, if you could reflect and go, gosh, I could have retired 5 years earlier, like that, those 5 years, were they really better than being retired? I don't know. Most people I meet that are retired love it and wish they had retired sooner, just as long as they retired to something that was happier and more meaningful than their job. Because for a lot of us, our jobs are great. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So have you noticed themes around what really matters to people later in life? Relationships, time, generosity, and how does that reshape the way you think about financial planning now?
So I love you give me the answer to the question in the question.
You saw that?
Yes. I have noticed themes around relationship, time, generosity. And those are, you notice none of those are really money necessarily, right? You could argue generosity is money, right? But I mean, you can give of your time, your talent, your treasure. It doesn't cost any dollars to give of your time and your talent. Right. So you can volunteer, you can do things that are meaningful, you can help in your community, you can help with your family, people that are caregivers for loved ones, who are sick. That's giving as well. That's generous. Those don't necessarily cost dollars. Time and cultivating good relationships with people, those don't necessarily talk time. They just be intentional, be empathetic, care, be curious and stuff like that. So yeah, I have noticed that the happiest people that I work with, who are retirees especially, have got those things. They've kind of got that straight. They're not chasing dollars, they're chasing that. And that's the lifestyle that gives them the peace that they want. And so consequently, that shapes my advice to people. Like, how do I get you to where you feel like you're living in that state as quickly as possible?
Exactly.
And you brought up that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Let's take care of the tactics that get you to that point as quickly as possible. So if you've got some pain points, let's address those like a surgeon would address those. How do I get the patient healthy? Oh, we have to do this thing here. Well, then let's do that thing. Let's focus on it with all our might and we get it fixed. And we get you to where you're living, where you have that purpose that you feel like you're there.
There's this shift that you can start paying attention to. And I know this is, seemingly like a shameless plug, but it's just stuff that we've learned, just stuff that we realize. Like when let's say you're maxing out your Roth IRA or your 401k, you got a company match. Let's say there's decades ahead of your working career, have you really looked at what that means that 401k balance could be in the future? Have you had your financial advisor look at that? Are you putting that in a financial plan? And sure, like it's fun to dream, but it really happens. Our compounding interest really happens. And at some point you might go, well, that's enough. And at some point do you go, is it more than enough? You know what I mean? Like we talked about the person dying with excess wealth. Maybe they could have retired earlier. There's an aspect too, where maybe it isn't just all about work or all about putting more and more and more and more away. Eventually you might be putting enough away to reach your goal. Right. And so what does that mean? Maybe you don't necessarily have to work as much or as hard or as long.
Yeah.
Right. And when we talk about, what I think about with this question is those folks that are interviewed on their deathbed, what are their regrets? Right. And it's never that, I wish I worked.
I didn't work long enough. Never in the top 10 answer.
Yeah. It's always, more time with family and, traveling when I could and that kind of thing. And so there's an aspect where you're going to be happy because you enjoy your job. You're going to be happy because you've got a plan. And eventually that's going to allow your assets to replace the income that your job is creating so you can leave your job. But I think the challenge, and it's even a challenge that I've tried to wrestle with myself. You and I really love our jobs, but also like you want to get to the point where you as a person are constantly dealing with this battle of, do I work more or do I just live more? And do you get as much satisfaction out of not working that you get working? A lot of people really enjoy working. There's respect, there's deadlines, there's structure.
Keeps your mind active.
It does a lot of the things. I feel like it's a natural thing. I'm a God-fearing man. I believe like God made us to work, made us to add value to others. But I think it can change. But I think the challenge that I'm saying here is that can you be just as satisfied, just as looking forward, just as happy with things that maybe don't involve work, right? And so, because I think for a lot of us, the default, the gravitational pull is you're going to cheat something. You're going to cheat your family or you're going to cheat work. But for whatever reason, it seems like the gravitational pull is to cheat family and to cheat time at home and just work earlier and to work later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's something Andy Stanley, my pastor, wrote a book about. It used to be called Choosing to Cheat. I think they changed the title. And he obviously adds the spiritual component in there too. Are you cheating God? Are you cheating family? Or cheating work? You have to cheat one of them because there's just not enough hours in the day to fully devote to all of them. But for whatever reason, most of the time, the default for us is to cheat God and our family and to give extra time to work. Right? How do you get to the point where you're actually you're cheating work, not your family and not God? And it's that challenge of, are you getting as much joy and satisfaction and meaning out of not working that you're getting in work? Seems to be easier sometimes for some people at different stages in life. And so if I think about the folks ahead, right, of where we're at, mm-hmm. or that have a lot of peace when it comes to what they're doing or in their retirement, they figured out that it's just not all about the work. The work's important and it's meaningful and you want to be happy and it's going to contribute to these assets that allow you to have the option to work or not. But if you've ruined all your family relationships in the pursuit of work and wealth, and then you get to retirement, and who's there to enjoy it with you?
Right, there's nobody around.
You got all this money, nobody likes you.
You have no playmates.
You have no relationships. So you've got to invest in those relationships. Could you have been working? Sure. Could it have made you more money? Sure. But did that more money, did that extra million really change what your retirement could look like or not? Yeah. It's a big
constant self-reflection.
Big conversation. Okay, so let's land the plane here, Joe. If someone is listening, let's say they're in their 30s. I don't know what age that is. That is the 30s or the 40s or the 50s. You put it together, it's the 30s. Wants to live with fewer regrets. What's one practical step they can learn from those who have already walked the path ahead of us?
I think for me, it boils down to I color outside the lines. I don't like one practical step. So I'm going to give you two.
Come on, let's go.
For me, it comes down to two things. One is a tactical step, avoid debt.
Yes.
Wherever possible, avoid debt. I look at that as storm-proofing, weather-proofing your house. The storms will come, things will happen. It is really hard to weather storms when you're in debt. That's when you start entering crisis mode. People stop being able to think about purpose because the house is on fire. We have to think about those things, right? So avoid debt wherever possible. And two, pursue passions that really matter to you. And that goes to what you were talking about is if you're in a job that you don't like, don't do it.
You're not promised tomorrow. It's not worth it.
Don't do it. Do something else. I'm not saying, retire as early as possible, but I'm talking to 20, 30-year-olds. If you're in a job that you hate, get out of it because life is too short. None of us are promised tomorrow. And if you're in a job that you hate, that's going to impact the rest of your life, your relationships, your health, all the things. I tell people, be passionate about whatever you're doing. And if you are passionate at that, you can probably make a buck out of it.
Yeah. Gosh, that's great. That's great. I don't have anything to add to that. I think that's great. That's great to hear. So, as far as kind of signing off, we're kind of, talking to here about books here at the end. I mentioned that one, Choosing to Cheat by Andy Stanley. I guess if you Google that, you'll find out whatever the new title is. But was there any other book that you thought of while we were talking today, Joe, on this topic?
This one, it resonates to me, the Die with Zero book.
Okay, as well. Yeah. Awesome. That's
the one we sent to all of our clients.
Definitely. And, if you guys are anything like me, I'm in a season of life where sitting down and reading a book is not something I have a lot of opportunities to do, but I'm in the car or I'm exercising quite a bit. And so I'm listening to a lot of books. And I will say that the Die with Zero book is a pretty easy to listen to. There are books that when I'm listening, I'm like, man, I wish I was reading this, taking notes, seeing charts. There's charts that I can't,
or steps you have to do.
And he probably has them in there in Die with Zero, but it's a good one to listen to. There are times where I was listening to it in the car and Maureen was in the car and we'd each have one earbud, right? And that's kind of fun to listen to together. We're always like making eyes and pausing and talking about it. That's a great one to do. So,
I agree.
And also like if you've been listening to the podcast for a little while and maybe you want to learn more about our services, I would highly recommend you go to goodwinvestment.com and click schedule a call. And schedule a 15, 20-minute phone call. One great team member from our team will do that call with you and just really get to know you, and explain a little bit more of our services. And here's some of the reasons that folks would schedule an intro call. It's usually because there's a pain point, right, Joe? What are some of the pain points where folks are typically reaching out to us?
Gosh, one point I see is people are within like 5 years potentially of retiring.
Okay.
Maybe they feel like they've been pretty good stewards of their wealth. They've established a pretty good sized nest egg, but now there are decisions that are daunting.
Right.
Like
big decisions.
What am I going to do about healthcare between now and Social Security?
Medicare. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When do I claim Social Security? I was already jumping ahead to the next time. When do I claim Social Security? Do I take it early? Do I not? Do I turn on the pension? Do I take a lump sum? How am I going to handle the taxes that are coming to me because I've got this deferred comp thing that's going to pay out, and like stuff I haven't had to deal with my whole life. All of a sudden, I'm going to have to deal with a whole bunch of stuff. So there's a pain point, kind of like, ooh.
Yep. And then we've seen some that are just kind of, might come out of nowhere, like losing a loved one, all of a sudden being a widow or widower.
Unfortunately, that's
we have
one.
Folks that reach out to us about divorce.
Divorce is one.
A reason why a lot of potential clients might be reaching out to us. If there is some kind of, let's say if you're a business owner and you're looking to sell your company, or you recently had some other kind of liquidity event, reach out. I think too, Joe, like sometimes folks are maybe more than 5 years away from retiring, but the wealth that they're managing is getting more stressful to do on their own. You mentioned that as your story, becoming a client in 2008 with me. It's just kind of like, hey, I was doing it, but it was like, gosh, this 401k. I had 20 years at Delta, but like, how do I decide what investments to be in? And before, when you get started, it's a couple $1,000. So what's the big deal if I make 8% versus 12%, the dollars they're not that big of a deal. But once it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's a really big difference. And then scaling that over time for decades can be a substantial, exponential difference. And so those are times where I've also seen, folks reaching out because it's just getting too stressful to manage on their own.
And if they're successful in their careers, sometimes they're being presented with opportunities that they don't know how to handle or even what to do because they've never gotten to that level before. Yeah. Now they're at a level where the financial life becomes, to your point, complex.
Yep. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's sign off with gratitude while you're thinking about something you're grateful for. I'll kind of flip the switch here and go a little bit off of this topic. And just 2 of my 3 daughters recently had surgery. And I'm just grateful to live in a country that has the technology, that has the healthcare, that we have access to it. We live by a nice hospital. They ended up both having surgery at the hospital. They were minor surgeries. They're doing great. But, as a parent, your kid being sick or getting put to sleep, oh my gosh, under anesthesia it's tough. It's risky and it's stressful. But I just feel so grateful. And I've gotten to go on mission trips and visit other countries where the parents don't always have the options that we have when our kids get sick. And so I'm just really grateful to be here in American healthcare. I know we got a lot of problems. And I know we don't have the best healthcare in the world, but I am grateful that it's not worse and that my kids are okay and that we figured out what was wrong and that we were able to fix the problem. So overall health, but really the healthcare that we have access to, I was grateful as a parent.
That's a good one. I'm going to say family. I'm going to say family because people just show up in lots of different ways. And, like over the last 6 months, I've had family just really, really show up and been available for lots of different things without asking. And anyway, just super grateful.
That's great.
I know not everybody has that.
Yeah. You have a pretty great family, Jim.
I do. Thank you.
We know. Yeah. Speaking from firsthand experience. Well, thanks again for coming today. We appreciate you coming, Joe. We appreciate all the listeners for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodwin Investment Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisory, CRD number 131193, and this episode is produced by evans.net. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or other investments. It should not be used as the basis for any financial decisions. The host and guests may personally hold investments mentioned in this episode. All investments involve risk and past performance does not guarantee future results. Please consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, and attorney before taking action on any information shared.